Welcome to RGBA, where we cover technology news, cool gadget, and do product reviews. This is episode number 30. My name is Alexandre Valliere-Lagacé, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tyler Ménard. This week, we discuss the Ultra HD standards, airports, and Google Pixels.
Okay, so a couple of months ago or weeks ago, we were talking about McLaren, the car company that was in talks with Apple for a partnership or anything. There was a bunch of rumors. McLaren came out this morning or last week saying they were in talks with Apple, but it never amounted to anything.
Yeah, they basically said that they did have discussions. They did the tours of each other's plants or research facilities, whatever. They discussed what they were doing, what they wanted to do in the future. But after that, they say it never matured into a definitive proposition. So there is no partnership per se. The story doesn't tell if Apple will eventually change its mind and just purchase McLaren outright. But at least we know there's no partnership for the moment.
And they call it's not a factory. McLaren call it the Technology Center.
Okay, yeah. So fancy name for fancy cars.
And also, we were trying to speculate how many cars they sell per year, and the numbers are 1,654 cars that they sold last year, delivered.
Yeah, so these are the P1 and the F1s, and also we learned that Phil Schiller has one.
No, not the F1. The F1 is an older car.
Okay, so probably he has a P1 then.
Yeah, the P1 is the $1 million car.
Just that. Pocket change.
But that's if you're lucky enough to buy it new.
Okay.
Because now on the used market, since the production numbers are limited, it's already more expensive.
Okay.
So it's an investment.
Oh, that's nice though. It's rare that the car actually takes up more value unless you keep it for like 50 years or something.
Yeah, but the cars that make money, you don't need money when you buy those cars.
Yeah.
If you're buying a $1 million car, you're not buying it just to flip it a year later to somebody who wants it that wasn't privileged enough to be in line or whatever. I think they even have to call you. Like, hey, do you want this car? It's not, hey, can I have this car?
Yeah, I know somebody's father-in-law who actually does that. He did that for a bunch of Ferraris and Lamborghinis. He buys them like as soon as they can, and he's like usually the first one in Montreal or whatever to have it. He buys it. He gets it delivered to his house. It's placed in his garage. He never rides it, and he puts it on sale the very next day, or even sometimes he even sells it before he actually receives it.
Yeah,
and then he buys it for $300,000, and then he sells it for $500,000 like the next week or whatever. Well, a few months later when he receives it, but still he's done that like 4 times. This paid his house, it paid his chalet, it paid his cars. Like the guy is all set for life just because he did that. And the only thing that he had was like the loan from the bank for doing that. And basically, I think he could like a second mortgage or whatever in his house, which he paid like outright. And just the first time is harder to just get started. But once you know the people, you know exactly how to proceed, and you have the funds for the first one, then the rest is easy.
It's because people don't want to wait. Because say you want the new Ferrari, you're gonna have to wait like a month or 2 for it to be built and shipped over here. Maybe even 2-3 months. And then depending on if you were the first one in line or whatever, it can be even longer. So people just don't want to wait, and they pay outright to get it now, to buy it used from somebody.
It's the same thing for anything. The NES Classic came out for $70 US. It was sold on eBay for $1,000. That's why Nintendo was quick to say that more stocks will be coming in before Christmas, because people were expecting that these very limited stock were the only stock that there's going to be available of that new console. And they were sadly thinking that it's either you pay Like Marco Arman says, you throw money at a problem and you just hope for the best, and instead of waiting and getting one after Christmas.
And I think it's even worse here in Montreal because of we don't have we can't drive the cars all year long. So if you really want the new car, you have to order it like now to get it for April.
Yeah.
So some people just wake up in April and they're like, "Oh, this is a hot new thing. I need this right now for this summer." There was this Porsche that I liked that if you build it on the Porsche website, it's 170, I think. And there was some on the classified ads there, the Quebec Les Pack.
Yeah.
It was 350. There was like 2, 3, 4 cars that were 350 instead of 170.
Yeah.
But if you want to pay 170, you have to wait a couple of months for them to build it because they're built to order.
Yeah, and that's basically like a complete business case for you. You can be doing that your whole life, and basically that's how you make your living.
You just need money to make money.
Yeah. So talking about money, you visited a place where you can spend lots of money.
And I spended money.
Oh, that's a good thing. That's what the retailer wants.
Yeah. No, but I bought an Apple Watch for my girlfriend. She's kind of wanted one, and I think I want her to have one more than she wants to have one anyways. And
as it usually is with girls.
It's what?
As it usually is with girls.
Yeah, it was Black Friday Apple deal. They were giving $35 gift cards. So I did the in-store pickup. I'm never going to buy anything in store trying to wait in line or find the line there, find somebody to pay for it or whatever. I'm always going to do in-store pickup. It takes like 2 minutes. It's really good.
So I did that one day when I went to get my Airport Extreme or just for a watch bracelet. You just pick up from the shelves what you need, and then you're just like Travolta, instead of getting off with his coat in his hand, looking right, looking left. Where do I go? Where do I pay? And there's always lots of people, at least in my Apple store. And no matter when I go, there's always a lot less clerks per customers than other stores. So you basically really realize that you have products in your hands, you're ready to go, but there's no one to serve you. And there's like very, very, very long lines at each of those. Like there's like 3 or 4 people waiting to get their hands on the Genius or something. So the last time I went there, I actually used the self-checkout. So
you stole it?
Yeah, so I scanned the thing and I ran away.
Use the stealing option. That's how I call it.
That's weird, but it's fun.
But the in-store pickup, what I like also is they put it in a bag and it just handed over to you. They don't, like when you want to buy something, they try to open it with you, give you demos of what it does. And I'm always too shy to say like, no, thanks. I just want to leave, please.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. So what did you do at that Apple store?
Okay, yeah. So after buying the watch, picking up the watch and everything, I had to stop and look at the MacBook Pro with Touch Bar. They had only 3 or 4 models. I think they only had 13s. They had 115, but this Genius was trying to sell it to a lady that wanted to do word processing or something like that. And yeah, I know. I was just playing with the MacBook and listening to the conversation. I always find that funny. People just want a laptop to have a laptop, but she really wanted the Touch Bar because she found it nice, and all she does is email. And anyways, so it's actually pretty nice. I don't know if you listen to ATP, but the guys were talking of like the lighting in the store is really not good for the Touch Bar because you really see the difference between what is touch and what is just the piece of glass. Yeah, and it makes it like less real, I find. It's more like just a strip there. But other than that, it's pretty nice.
It seems that the lighting in the store is actually made for devices that have a screen that is perpendicular to the table.
Yeah.
So because lighting is always directly from the ceiling going down. So if you have like an iPad that's actually facing down, you can probably also see the seams of the screen and the bezel edge and everything. But if it's like a screen that's like propped up, like an iPhone on the dock or a Mac, you don't see the same kind of details.
So it was probably the first thing I noticed. I'm like, okay, so no wonder people are complaining for the escape key, because there's just no screen that goes beyond the little one key. We'll put the picture I took in the show notes. We see it pretty clearly. But other than that, it's pretty cool, especially in photos. Sorry, you can scroll through the pictures using your thumb. It's actually pretty nice because you don't have to look at the touch bar. You can look in screen and you kind of see. I don't know how to explain it. You see, it's like
it's in your peripheral vision.
Yeah, peripheral vision, kind of. So you scroll and you see the pictures sliding on screen. So it's pretty cool.
Okay. Is it responsive?
Yeah, it's a lot more responsive than we see on the videos. I was trying to play with the brightness and trying to get my finger to lose the slider, but it's actually pretty good. I don't think you'd ever see responsiveness problems in real use. If you really want to move your finger fast, then you'll see it, but on that, it's good.
Unless it's linked to the app itself, that the Final Cut Pro integration,
right?
Because it's scrubbing video, maybe it has more processing to do, and the little thumbnail generation is not up to speed right now. But that's the kind of thing that can be fixed in a future update of Final Cut.
Yeah, I tried playing with GarageBand.
Okay.
I didn't play a lot with it, but by default it gives you all the like EQ settings there as a button. When you press on it, it gives you a slider to like adjust the EQ settings. So I guess it's something you set once, but you don't play with that all the time.
Okay.
So it's not really useful unless you want maybe you can swap out and put something more useful that you adjust more often, but I don't know. I wouldn't use it in GarageBand for sure. I think the only useful thing I saw was in pictures, in photos, and in Safari, like your favorites can be put in the touch bar. So that's like the only useful thing I see.
You can always change whatever it's predetermined, but you can always change that for other things.
Yeah.
They can even put dashboard if you want in there, or I don't know, like expose or whatever. So
yeah,
probably that. If not now, maybe in the near future, Apple will be releasing maybe like an update to the SDK, and their own apps will also allow you to add or remove different controls, especially on the first party apps, and there'll be APIs for developers to implement too.
It's weird because it's kind of like learning a bunch of new shortcuts. Like I know in Safari to open a new tab, Command T, and I just do it all the time. But now I'm going to have to think, okay, I want to go on Hipster Pixel. I'll just hit it on my touch bar instead. It's just learning curve, I guess.
But still, the important thing is that whatever this thing provides is an added experience and not a subtracted experience. So do you feel that if we would say that tomorrow morning there will be no F row key on any computers whatsoever or keyboards, will that be a plus for you or a loss for you?
Right now, I think it doesn't matter. I don't use them that much other than screen brightness and volume.
Okay, so by having those in the touch bar and other features, it's just a plus.
Yeah, because I never use Expose or Launchpad. What's the other one? I forget the names. And play pause, either I don't use them. The power button, I don't even know what it does.
Well,
and the escape key. I use the escape key.
It only works when your computer froze. So that's
power
when you
button?
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
All right, so I hope I can take a little stroll to the Apple Store and sit for myself, because it really looks like a nice piece of technology. What about the focusing? Because you say that it's in your peripheral vision, so when you're typing, it's right there. Do you actually have to move your eyes from the screen to the touch bar, and do you find this cumbersome to refocus, or is it close enough that you don't need to focus?
It's not a problem when you're using the laptop, because I think the distance is like pretty much the same. It might become a problem if they ever release not a third party, an external keyboard.
Yeah, a Magic Keyboard 2.
I think like that's the biggest problem right now, because people that use that buy new MacBook Pros that are supposed to be pros, like you'd say, they don't work 40 hours a week on their laptop. They'll have this nice setup with a nice screen and a nice keyboard, and they can't use the touch bar, so they'll never get used to it. They won't start new habits by using it 2 hours a day or something. You need an external keyboard for people to be using it full time all the time, and then they'll get used to it, and then it's going to be something that's useful and that you can use all day.
Yeah, I agree. This will have to happen for people to get it really implemented everywhere. Because right now, most indie developers probably have done all they could with the latest API from last summer. So right now they're just trying some new things, and there's a perfect timing to add some new APIs for the touch bar. So some of the most curious developers will implement those, but there will be way too many developers that will not even consider it, because what's the amount of people that are going to get the new computers?
On Touch ID, the button feels like plastic. I don't know. It was weird.
Okay.
It doesn't feel glass like the rest of the touch bar. It feels like this different material. I didn't try to set it up or nothing. It's just, that's the only thing I noticed.
That's weird.
The escape key does work a bit out of range if you want, out of, like if you don't press directly on it, but it still doesn't work all the way to the edge.
Okay.
Like it should.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's also, it's probably like we discussed in the past, it's a matter of symmetry, because there's a touch sensor on the right.
If they want to keep symmetry, they can show the little button, like not going all the way to the edge, but they can make that region touch sensitive, their region, all the way to the edge, and acts as the escape anyways.
Yeah.
So if you just hit a bit beside the escape, it works. But now if you hit in the corner like you would for the old escape, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, but I'm afraid that they probably did not put any touchable material all the way to the end.
No, that's it. That's what you see in the picture.
Yeah. So they could not just do a software update and change their minds in the future. That's how it's made right now, until the next batch of computers.
The keyboard, I didn't see really any difference between this and the MacBook One. I've not had any significant time with either, so I couldn't say. I'm not a keyboard geek like you are, so I don't really mind. I think I'd just get used to it. But it was super. People have been complaining that it's super loud and too noisy, but the Apple Store itself was super loud, so I couldn't really do any testing, or I didn't notice anything.
Yeah, the best thing I can think of for comparing the different keyboards is Stephen Hackett made a video recording the sounds of all the keyboards, and he does those in loops. He types on one, switches to the next one, and that goes on twice. You can definitely hear that there's more of a clackety kind of sound with the new keyboard, but it's very far from a mechanical keyboard. It's basically just a little change in the pitch, I would say, of the sound, and it's, for me, it's not even like a difference. It's so low that unless you put your ear right next to it, you won't notice a difference. And in a office environment, there are people with cheap Dell keyboards that are actually hitting them so hard that the whole freaking table shakes. So I don't think that this new keyboard will be a problem for anybody. Well, I mean, in terms of sound, unless you don't like the feeling, but in terms of sound, this is not a problem for me.
I think it's just you just have to get used to it.
True. Like probably every other keyboards. But yesterday I forgot my mechanical keyboard at home, and I went to work, so I had to resort to my poor Magic keyboard. And apart from the layout being different and stumbling around all day, I was really missing my keyboard.
I think I'm more sensitive to layout than to actual keys. Like yesterday, I felt that I was trying to hit too hard on the keys. You don't need to press as hard as this MacBook Pro I have now. I don't know, just because the keys don't have the same travel length. So I think that's the biggest adjustment. That's not the biggest adjustment. Sorry, the biggest adjustment is the layout.
Yeah. All right. So this week I started to shop for a new TV for my living room in the basement.
Oh.
And I opened a Pandora box, which is all those HDR, Dolby Vision, Ultra 4K standards. It really is a pain in the ass. just to make a quick summary of all what I discovered, is that Ultra HD, which is the new name for the 4K displays you can find in the stores, is just for the resolution. Once you understand that, you realize that there's a bunch of different technologies or standards that can be applied to those 4K displays. And not all 4K displays are created equal, which means that some displays that are usually cheaper or usually in sale quite often in different stores, they do have a 4K display. So you do get that 4K resolution, but you have no HDR, you have no Dolby Vision, you have no Rec 2020, whatever. And basically what do you gain is you do gain a resolution. So you gain a little bit sharper image, but most of the changes that 4K will bring to your eyes is actually the HDR stuff, or the, as it is with the recent iPhone 7, is the white color gamut. So there are other standards than the DCI-P3 standards. There's basically HDR10, Dolby Vision, Rec 2020, and one that's called P3, which is, I think it's close to DCI-P3, but it's not exactly the same. So
they're all the same. They're just a bit different, right?
Well, not
They
necessarily.
all do the same thing, or they all want to promote the same thing, nicer, sharper colors, but they're like little subtleties that this has better blacks and this has better reds or whatever. That's it.
I think it's even worse than that. It's just like the XKCD comic that there's 12 standards now. So let's make a new one that's going to be better. And now there's 13 standards.
Okay.
Well, the Rec 2020 is made from the hardware manufacturers. So basically, I guess all the Red cameras, the company there, and probably a bunch of other manufacturers that decide that for cinema, this is the new standard for color definition. So it's even wider than P3. The Dolby Vision is, I would say, a consumerized version of that, as with the HDR10, which are usually both software things that can be found in the same panels. So, for example, the Vizio P series, they have recently gotten an update of the firmware, and they support now HDR10 and Dolby Vision. So that's why I say that in terms of hardware, there's no difference. The Rec 2020 is something different. That's totally different, and it's even wider, so you really need like a special panel for that. I stumbled across a big chart of those people who do TV reviews, but that are very intense, and they use professional tooling to exactly see how much of the color gamut that is respected, and they sort it by TVs. And you can see that with, let's say, for example, this television has like 90% of the HDR10 standard, 94% of the Dolby Vision, and like 80% of the Rec 2020. So if you want to get like the best TV quality, TV image right now, there are TVs that are in the 90s and close to the hundreds, but there's not a single one that does all the standards at 100%. And also, that's just the display. Your source has to support these. So I know Netflix has 4K videos now, and they are using some kind of HDR to help with the image colors, but I'm not sure which one they are using. I'm not even sure if they're using one of those that are existing in other very own. And also, they are there's a bunch of the Blu-ray players that have been updated to support some of those standards. But then again, the disc that you buy, the movie that you buy, has to have the same standard. So it's kind of like the what it was, the DVD standards problems we had. Not DVD, sorry, Blu-ray versus
HD DVD.
Yeah, HD DVD. So there were two standards. So that wasn't too hard, and it was all the way like bottom up from the player CDs all the way to the TVs. Well, the TV doesn't matter, but now is that the TV can matter, the Blu-ray can matter, the streaming content can matter, and the disc itself can matter.
What disc? What's a disc?
Yeah, that little thing that you put your coffee mug on.
Okay. The coffee tray.
Yeah, exactly. Coffee tray. So basically, there's no perfect TV right now. There's a bunch of good TVs. And since it's color that we're talking about, there's also lots of people who cannot even see the difference in the iPhone 7 versus an iPhone 6S. I'm part of those. I do see when I load specific images, little difference in terms of warmth and brightness or contrast of certain colors. But for me, it's not night and day. For me, it's basically the same thing with a little bit better contrast ratio. So for me, I don't think I should invest in a like close to 90% kind of thing. If I can get a TV that has HDR10, Dolby Vision, maybe in the 80s, or maybe there's a few good ones that are not too expensive in the 90s, but not necessarily the Rec 2020, all that more expensive stuff, I think I would be more than happy. Coming up from a LG TV that I bought for $2,000, what was it? Maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. So, which was not even OLED or anything. So anything will be upgrade, and I don't think you should either invest so much right now until we get some kind of final standard.
Yeah, the price really came down because you said $2,000 6 years ago. You're gonna get a bigger, better, less expensive TV.
Yeah, for like 1,300, I can get at Costco. I can get like a TV with all these new standard HDR, 4K, 802.11 AC, and all the features in one slick package for like a third less. So
I'm really not looking forward to buying a new TV.
yeah, it's the kind of thing that you say, oh, it's gonna be fun to just like shop around and look at everything, but basically it's just a pity because there's just like you said, like there's too many brands, there's too many features, there's too many exclusive models. That's what happened with me with my LG TV. When I bought it, I wanted a specific model which was only available at a retailer, and that retailer was not budging on his price. I always try to get the price down when I get a TV or something like that. So I resorted to another, just the model just below, that was at this time $2,300, and I managed to get it down $600 to $1,700 plus tax. It went to about $2,000 with tax. So that's what I had to resort because the TV I wanted was not budging its price. So yeah, that's the fun stuff of retailers and price negotiations. So on the side of Apple, what new features are there to be looking at? We do have even more rumors that still our favorite analyst, Min Chi Kuo, which is probably paid very much by KGI Securities because his name is everywhere every week. He's saying that he has coined a few features for the next 2017 iPhone. So basically,
of course he did.
Oh yeah, of course, because he knows everything. I'm curious because now that his name is in the news like very, very, very often, I would like to see a tally of his right and wrongs every year because I'm pretty sure
His
that
stats.
yeah, a few years ago he was there once or twice per year and he was right. So that what brought him probably to his analyst status over at KGI's. But if he tells something new every week, of course he's going to get some right stuff.
He's the new Mark Gurman.
Yeah, but he's going to get a bunch of wrong stuff. So
he just throws everything at the wall and something's going to stick.
Yeah, that's the bad thing because when you get popular and people keep bugging you for new updates, that's what you ended up is giving out is not necessarily what you are sure that's going to happen, but only what you think or what you guess. So it's not as accurate. So basically, a new iPhone, of course, that will be supporting wireless charging. So if wireless charging is to be added to the iPhone, what has to be removed is the aluminum back because aluminum does not transfer electricity as well as it should for that kind of charging. So are we looking at an iPhone 4 type of device with a front and a back made of glass? So that's what he says. He's saying that that's going to be the next thing, with, of course, OLED displays that will cover a bigger superficie of the front of the device.
Less bezel,
Yeah, less bezels,
less
more
chin,
screen.
less forehead.
Yeah, and less. So less everything, more screen. Also different sizes. He already spoke about those in the past, but he reiterates that there's going to be like a 5.8 inch and for 5.1 or 5.2. So basically crank up by about 0.4 inch the 4.7 and 5.5 inch models. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope not, because more glass means more breaking. And with all the accessories that are available for Apple iPhones, do we really need wireless charging? Do we really need to just drop the phone on a little mat instead of docking it? There's so many nice docks out there. Since the Lightning connector is not very recent, every manufacturer has updated their docks to that, and probably you listening already have a bunch of docks already. So I don't know. I don't get that wireless charging thing.
But it's like wireless charging. It's when the phone is in the range of the wireless charging pad. How does it work?
Yeah, it's just a contact that you have to do. So
Okay,
there's
so instead
already
of plugging in my phone, I have to put my phone on the pad.
Yeah, exactly. IKEA has a few furniture items that have those little pads integrated. So let's say you buy like an IKEA desk, you put because it's usually Samsung that has those integrated. So you just take your Samsung phone, you drop it on that little mouse mat or whatever, look-alike, and it's going to start charging. But it still has to be on the pad or on that little puck or whatever. It cannot be like anywhere on the desk. So
Okay, it can't be in the room.
No. It's not wireless as in like Wi-Fi charging your device or whatever. It's just that you don't need to plug a wire. So the name is not the right one, I would say. I would say maybe like just contact charging would be better suited, because wireless really means that I'm just walking in the house and my phone is charging, which makes no sense.
I guess it's good if you at work you have this pad on your desk and you just drop your phone on it all the time, so you're never worried about getting a charge, and you can just pick it up quicker than taking it off the dock or putting back in the dock. It's okay. I don't like the name. It should be contact charging.
Yeah, but then there's contactless payment and everything with anyways. So yeah,
contactless payment. You don't have to touch. You have to be like right over.
Yeah.
So contact charging is clear. You have to put the phone on the thing. It has to be contact.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but there are so many nice docks. Like you have the Elevation docks from Elevation Labs, and they are super nice. They are sturdy. They are solid. You just dock it off. It stays on the desk. You don't need two hands for that. So, anyways, for the price of those chargers, you can usually get a nice dock. So, anyways. Yeah, maybe just because I'm not used to that, and I've been docking my phones for like 10 years, that I don't find this attractive. At first, these contact charging mechanism were slower to charge. I think now they're pretty fast. They even burn your phone if you have a Note 7. So, so it should be better than it was, but still, I'm not super keen about those things.
And I feel like it take more place on my nightstand too.
Yeah, also, because what happens if that little thing you have on your furniture is not where you want it? You can't move it because it's like drilled in the wood. So
I think I need like just a box. That's what I need. A box, and everything I put in the box charges.
Yeah, like localized wireless charging. That would be the best thing.
Yeah, it's just like a bin.
Yeah, you just throw your keys in there and everything. But
yeah, everything. Car keys, phone, watch, laptop, everything in the bin, and it just charges.
And you'll get a bin and a bin plus for your laptop, so you can fit your 15-inch.
Yep, exactly.
See, Apple, we have a product for you. The Apple
Okay,
bin.
we're going to have to cut this out. It's I think we have a business plan.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be rich with that.
Yeah. Let's go with Kickstarter.
Exactly.
Talking about Kickstarter, I think you just received something.
Yeah, I received my magnetic lamp. So basically, there was this Indiegogo campaign a few months ago sometime in last June about a gravity light, which is a 360 degrees magnetic LED lamp made out of wood that would be LED with little LEDs that are bright. Basically, it's like a wooden stick that is vertical, that is held onto a aluminum plate by magnets. So you can basically swivel it, move it around. You can center it, whatever you want. And it comes in two different length, two sticks that you stick together to increase the height of the lamp. And all three, and the third part, which is the one with the LED lamps, is also magnetically attached to the vertical stick if you want. So basically, it works as intended. All the pieces are stick together, but it's all very finicky. They do stick, but they wobble from everywhere. And also the wire is white. Okay, fine, not such a big problem. But it only attaches to the top of the stick that goes on top. So basically, if you put both sticks one into the other to get a higher lamp, it gets plugged in from the middle, which is not very nice. Also, the cable is like, what is that, like 25-inch maybe, super short. It's a USB cable on one end and a 3.5 millimeter jack on the other end, and the button to turn it on, turn it off is very close to the USB side, which makes no sense. If I get this plugged on my nightstand, I have to reach behind my nightstand to put it on, to turn it on. It makes no sense. So
you should buy the thing that you can clap on, clap off.
The clapper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, the 80s are back, man. Yeah, so basically the quality is not there. The wood is not too bad. The color is nice. The idea was great, but the manufacturing of it is not there. And considering that cost me $69 US, it really is not worth $69 US. I would probably find this on Alibaba for like $12. That's the feeling I have. So yeah, basically, maybe what we all did is just give a bunch of money to somebody to create a cheap product and get it to sell on Alibaba for not too expensive. So that's probably the last time I'm going to buy some piece of furniture like that from a Kickstarting campaign.
I think I'm done with Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I feel like every time I get stuff, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, it depends. I've got a few companies I trust, like Elevation Labs or Studio Neat. Yeah, I know that these guys will do something very nice, but there's, I think, way too many people that are actually going to that route, and some of them probably have issues while developing the product, but they ended up just cutting the quality. Or if that's what they were expecting from the get-go, it's just not what it looks like on the pictures. So yeah.
And it's always late. Always late.
Yeah, of course. This one was to be, I think they said like something like August, and we're now in almost December, and I just got it. And looking at the Kickstarter comments, I think there's one or two people who got it recently, but not many. So much that people say that is weird that only like anonymous backers receive their lamp and not everybody else. But I put in a comment that I do receive mine, but the quality is not there. So, anyways, that's my Kickstarting woes. So there is also another product that is going to be disappearing very soon. Apple, after stopping the production of displays, there are now rumors that all the engineers assigned to the airport products are going away to other groups. So Apple will probably very soon announce or just phase out the Airport Extreme, Airport Express, and the Time Machine products. Or they're going to still be sold like the MacBook was for 3 years with no updates. But isn't this one already 3 years old?
I think so. I think it's almost 2 years old.
Yeah, so
at least 2 years old, I mean.
And that's sad because in the Wi-Fi world, there's two things. There's speed and there's reliability. Apple usually updates its airport extremes once every 2 or 3 years, so they're not ever the fastest, but when they release a brand new product, they usually are pretty close to be the fastest, but they are always the most reliable one. I have the latest model. I had tested the two previous models, and I owned one for like, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years before that. And it was just like a refrigerator. You just plug it in, it would give you Wi-Fi, and
Was
always
it
give you
cold?
Wi-Fi. No, it wasn't cold. It was getting hot sometimes, but that
Okay.
was expected.
Okay,
But
I'm looking at the release date. It's June 10th, 2013. So 3 years.
yeah, 3 years and a couple months. So yeah, and basically right now, this, I think it's an AC 1900. So we've seen, you recently tested a TP-Link that is an AC 3200. So nowadays we get more bands, more antennas, more networks. So it's not up to par in terms of performance, but it was still one of the most reliable devices you can find, and very, very much in line with Apple's "it just works." So you just plug it in and it just works. So maybe we're just seeing smoke and there's no fire. But if those rumors are true, we could probably don't not see any more updates to the product line, and software updates will be only coming for security fixes, if ever there are some that are required.
It's probably just because they don't sell enough, so they can't justify making new models, and that's it.
But that's funny because more and more the new routers are $250. I even seen some at $279 in Canadian dollars, of course. And so that's why that this $249 Airport Extreme makes sense when you compare it to other router that were usually very, very cheap, but now they're getting more and more expensive. So it's like Apple is in the game right now in terms of price. So yeah, like you say, maybe people are looking at all the specs and that are printed on the box, and they see that the Linksys one or the TP-Link one, whatever, has 2 or 3 networks and this and that, and automatic switching of networks, and they see that the Airport Extreme is maybe not as open to display its features, and they think that it's less powerful, less efficient. So, anyways, that's a rumor for it. We've seen Apple starting to crank out new holiday ads. There was one with Frankenstein that was trying to sing with a choir, and I don't know, there was a bunch of reaction to that video over the last week. People liked it, people hated it, people found it weird. It's just an ad, and it's just trying to display something related to holidays, and the guy has an iPhone in his hands. So big deal.
And he's recording using voice memos, the forgotten app.
Yeah, the forgotten app. Everybody tried it for a day and then forgot it.
Yeah.
But still, it's just an ad. I don't know why people get so rally up about those ads. They're either just nice or just funny or just an ad. You shouldn't get too weird about those.
I think the best Christmas one personally was the little kid there that make the slideshow, I think, or something on his phone.
Yeah, the iMovie. Yeah, he wasn't like everywhere during the holidays, but he was never participating, always on his phone. So people were saying, he's like probably on social
Kids
networks.
these days.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Monday morning, he actually took everybody in the living room and plugged his phone in the TV and started to play this movie that recaps the whole holiday season with his family in one super nice, super well done movie. All right, so for Review Corner this week, I did a review for the TP-Link. Okay, let me take my breath. TP-Link AC1750 Wi-Fi Extender AV1200 Powerline Edition. So this super long product name is basically a product in the Powerline category of products, which allows you to transmit your network data over the electrical grid of your house. So it comes in 2 little modules, one source module on which you plug in a RJ44 network cable, and this transmits the data through your electrical grid, And there's also a second unit which you plug in, let's say, to the back of your TV or in your like other room in the house where there's no network cable available. You plug this in, and this one has 3 ports that can power 3 different devices over the electrical grid. So that's the promise. Usually those extenders have 400, 800 megabits of speed. There is one 2000 also made by TP-Link, but this one has a 1200 megabits, but also has a Wi-Fi extender feature. So basically that second device that you put, like let's say in your second floor or in your garage or whatever, can also transmit Wi-Fi. So it creates a Wi-Fi network that is taking the data from the wired network, from the electrical grid. That's why this one is like kind of like a 2-in-1 and is not as fast as the other one. With the other one, the AV2000, I think it's the Wirecutter best product that in the category. So you should probably look at it. I'll put show notes. I'll put the links in the show notes. So basically, this TP-Link product has a dual band Wi-Fi with combined speeds of 1750 megabits. The power line, like I said, is 1200 megabits. It can also be installed in a few minutes. You basically just plug both devices. You click pair on one device, pair on the other one, and that's it. The receiving end module also has a Wi-Fi button, so you can disable Wi-Fi or enable Wi-Fi. And there's also a LED button, which you can disable the LEDs or enable them if you prefer to see those blink. Setup is super easy. The devices themselves are quite big, bigger than I was expecting. I would say they're about maybe almost 2-inch wide. Not wide, but yeah, 2-inch wide, but also almost 2-inch of height. So it's quite impressive if you put this behind a TV and your power outlet is close to the bottom. It might stick out a bit. So as with those things, what I usually like to do is take the time to do a bunch of different scenarios, how to use those and see the different performance of it. So what I tried is basically I set those up in my basement living room. So in the same room, 2 different walls, I've plugged the different units, and I did some connection testing over the wire. So basically, I'm getting about between 31 and 32 megabytes of transfer. So wired connection, quite nice. That's about 240 megabits. So it's very far from that 1200 ideal scenario, perfect room, probably the same wire to and from kind of performance. That is what they are always proposing in their on the package, but it's never achievable in a real life scenarios. So 31 megs, same room, wired. I left the origin module in the basement, and I went 1 floor above. So on my main floor, with the wire plugged in that receiving end, I'm getting about 10 megs per second, so a third of the speed for 1 floor above. And then I went to the second floor, so 2 floors above. I also get 10 or 11 meg, so it's the same speed. So I'm figuring that probably anywhere I go in my house, I would get a solid 10 megabytes of transfer speeds. Then what I did try is I said, okay, I'm at the second floor of my house. I've got no router close. So let me enable that wireless feature and see if I can get wireless in my bedroom or in another room at the second floor. So using that 5 gigahertz, using that 2.4 gigahertz, I get something around 3.9 and 9 megabytes per second. So very variable speeds. That is because there's many networks on that band close to me, and I've got channel overlap of that band. So that makes an average of about 5 megs per second. So a lot less than I was expecting, especially that the device itself can give me 11. I just lose half of it by using the 2.4 gigahertz band. So switching to the 5 gigahertz band, I was expecting to get probably closer to 11 megs, but I still get some very, very bad values, which is an average of 3.9, with values going from 1 to 7 megabytes per second. So it's in the same room. So I get like not so good in terms of performance for the Wi-Fi. So the last test I did is still with the Wi-Fi, I moved to another room at the opposite end of the floor. And then I also get from 1.7 to 9.7 megs per second. So still unreliable on very variable speeds. That's an average of 5 megabytes. So it's better. Weirdly, it's better if you're further from the router, the extender, and not close. So all those numbers, what does it mean? Basically, if you refer to what the good folks at Netflix recommend, they recommend 5 megabits per second for HD and 25 megabits per second for Ultra HD. So if you do the math, basically you can barely reach that 25 megabits for Ultra HD content if you use those in the wired scenario. In the Wi-Fi, you might be able to stream HD, but you could have problems also if let's say if you're using your electrical grid for something else and this might impact the performance. So basically, well conceived device, nice design, a bit bulky, I would say. You got 3 ports, so that's pretty nice. You got a good performance, I would say, in terms of wired performance. The wireless performance is not there. It's a lot slower than I was expecting. The price is good, but if you really want to use a powerline device, I strongly suggest you to get that AV2001 that is also from TP-Link. It only has 2 ports, but it's much faster and much more reliable.
It's good to know because I was looking for one of these, but that passes through a coax to plug the computer next to my TV into Ethernet instead of using wireless. But after your numbers, I don't think it's really worth it.
Yeah, because nowadays, especially all the devices are getting on board to the AC technology. So even a TV can reach better speeds than that just by using the Wi-Fi in your existing house. So it's not as fast as I was expecting. It's still usable, but I wouldn't rely on that to plug in a computer and do lots of networking stuff. I would say it's more adapted to like TVs and like music players or Sonos device or something that uses the network, but not as much as you transferring 5 gigabytes file over the network. And the other the review I want to maybe postpone to next week is the Google Pixel. I've gotten the Pixel XL and in black and the regular Pixel in white. One of them from Google and one of them from TELUS. So I'll be able to test both sizes. Just from the specs, one fun thing is that both devices have very similar specs, the same camera. So it's less of a like Apple. You have to choose. If you want a good camera, you have to get the Plus. If not, you don't get the as nice camera as you can. In this case, it's the same camera, same video stabilization. It's basically more in terms of size, screen size, and memory. So I'll report back next week because right now I did use those a bit, but not as my main driver, my daily driver. So it's not a real test until I can put my hands on it for full days.
So your report next week?
Yep, next week I'll have my detailed review. If not posted on the blog, it will be spoken of too in details right here. Same channels, same time. All right, so that is it for this week. You can find the show notes at rgba.fm/30. So we already have 30 shows in the bin. That's amazing. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm Vallier, VALLIERES.
And I'm Tyler Menard, TYLERMENARD.
And you can follow _RGBAfm on Twitter for the show. And you will be alerted of new shows when they're posted.
Have a nice week.
Have a nice week.